following is a dynamic warm-up utilizing yoga poses broken down. We'll move slowly so you can activate the muscles that are going to support you during your run, and I'll explain why it's important along the way. If you're working on your balance, feel free to practice near a wall. Ideally, doing this barefoot before your run so you can work on the mobility of your feet, since we get stuck in our sneakers when we run. We want to utilize the availability of movement barefoot before we get into our sneakers. Lastly, we'll be utilizing breath. So try to follow along with me, but as long as you're inhaling when you do one movement and exhaling with another, all good. That helps activate your diaphragm, which again, in turn, will support a better running pattern, movement, and efficiency. So with that, we'll get started. We'll start at the front of your mat with your feet hip distance apart. We like to talk about the tripod of your foot. So if you lift all 10 toes, spread them, you can start to feel the arch support in your foot. Go ahead and then lower your toes down, but try to maintain the arch. Feet should be about hip distance apart. On an inhale, start to reach your arms overhead, moving through the shoulders, paying mind not to arch into the back, but just try to utilize the availability in your shoulders. On the exhale, sit back into chair pose or Utkatasana. Here you want your knees to come slightly forward, but not too forward so that they're beyond your toes. Your seat is going to sit back and down. Back should be straight. Here we're activating our quads. If you look down and see that your knees are starting to come in, think about activating the sides of the hip or rotating from the thigh bone so that your hip, knee, and second toe stay aligned. On your exhale, go ahead and fold forward into Uttanasana, a forward fold. Release your head down so your gaze should be between your legs. On your next inhale, step your right leg back, coming into a low lunge for a moment. If you're working on mobility, you can always keep a yoga block near you to balance out. On your next exhale, release your back knee down, release your toe. On your inhale, come on up into crescent lunge. We can pause here. Make sure that your hips are facing forward. Crescent lunge is a nice place to open up the front of the hip and thigh if you have limited flexibility here. Again, pay mind that you're not putting pressure in your back. So think about taking the rib cage and drawing it forward in space, not rounding, but just stacking it on top of your pelvis. Now on your next inhale, bring your arms up one more time to stretch the shoulders up. And then on your exhale, swing your arms behind your body, starting to spread the collarbones to stretch the front of your pecs. If your pecs are tight from sitting all day, you're going to have a limited ability to rotate. Now, start to activate the back leg by flexing your back heel towards your butt without moving anything else. And it's okay if you only have a few inches to move. And then on the exhale, you're going to tuck your back toes onto the ground, send your hips back, allowing your tush to move towards your back heel, stretching the front leg, letting the toes lift up. Here we're stretching the back of the leg, which we utilize a lot when we run. So you're stretching the back of the calf and the back of the thigh, the hamstring. You're also getting a bit of a toe stretch on the opposite leg. On our inhale, again, we're going to bring our arms back behind us, spread the collarbones, stack the rib cage over the pelvis, flex the foot, and then exhale, coming into the half Hanuman. It's a half split. This is also called a runner stretch. One more time. Inhale, shoulders spread, collarbones spread, hands come behind you. Start to flex the back foot, heel comes to tush, activating that hamstring. And then exhale one more time, Hanuman, stretching the back of the left leg. On your next inhale, walk your hands forward to frame your front foot. Knee stacks over the ankle. If you need the block, go for it. I'm going to grab mine for a second here. Lift off the back knee, coming into a low lunge stretch. And then go ahead and bring the block to the side as you step your left leg back, coming into a downward facing dog. You can adjust your feet accordingly. Your feet should be in line with your hands. Now, since this is the first time we're in down dog, you might want to start with your knees bent. Lift your tailbone up and back in space. Your spine should stay completely straight, and only then can you start to stretch your knees any amount without rounding your pelvis. On your exhale, roll your body forward into plank, stacking your shoulders over your wrists. Elbows stay slightly soft so that you're not locking out your joints. Abs in. Gaze is just in front of your hands. You should have one straight line from head to shoulder to pelvis to heels. Take the lower front ribs and pull them up and into the body. We'll keep one more breath here, and this is going to activate our core, which is our powerhouse when we run. On your next exhale, lower your knees down. Release your toes to get a stretch in the ankles in this position. On your inhale, come into cow spine, tailbone lifts up, belly drops, head comes up, shoulders go back. Exhale into cat spine, reversing that curve. Inhale into cow. And exhale into cat, rounding tailbone down, belly lifts up, head drops down. Last time, inhale cow, and exhale cat. Now tuck your toes and lift up into downward dog one more time. And now we're going to step that left leg forward once more. Now again, you may want to utilize the block for range of motion, grounding down into your hand. Start to peel your left arm out to the side and up to the ceiling. We're doing two things here. One thing is stabilizing our lower body, and then we're mobilizing our thoracic spine, which is the part of the spine where the ribs attach. You need a lot of rotation to oppose hip extension when you run. So again, when we sit all day, it's really hard to get that mobility. This is a nice way to warm up for the beginning of our run. Go ahead and bring the block over to the side if you needed it. And now just walk your hands forward, getting a little bit heavier on your front leg. Pull your left hip bone back, making sure that the front of the pelvis is parallel with the front of your mat. Now come to prayer with your hands, and you're going to use your left glute to balance for a moment in a warrior three, and you can shorten your stance if you need to, or use the wall for balance. Making sure to pull the left hip away from the left rib cage to activate the back of the glute, your glute max and your glute med. Such important muscles to stabilize when we run. And then on your next exhale, swing your right leg to meet your left leg, coming into Tadasana, standing mountain pose. That is a lot of work, I know, but it is well worth it. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now, again, check your feet, make sure they're hip distance apart. Maybe lift all 10 toes and then release them down to find the arch. Inhale, Utkatasana, arms up. We're stretching the lat muscles here, another set of muscles that get tight when we sit. And then on your exhale, you're forward folding. We're also very much activating the quad in any of these squat or lunge positions. Again, to start to protect the body before we go for a run. Next, step your left leg back, first coming into a low lunge. Again, stacking knee over ankle. Release your knee down, release your toe back. Inhale, crescent lunge here. And then maybe bring your hands to the pelvis just to make sure that it's in alignment, that it's in a horizontal position and not angled on a diagonal. So if you find that maybe your right hip's lifted up, just drop down a little bit so that the two front hip points are parallel and level. Now, on your exhale, go ahead and swing your hands back for a moment. Inhale, start to flex your foot, bringing your left heel towards your seat. And then exhale, tuck your left toes, shift your hips back over the left foot, flexing the right foot to get that stretch in the half Hanuman. Inhale, arms come back, collarbone spread, foot flexes on the left. Exhale, Hanuman. One more time. Inhale, activate that hamstring, flex the foot. Exhale, Hanuman. Now walk your hands forward on your inhale, coming into the low lunge position, stacking knee over ankle. And then exhale, coming into a downward facing dog. Pause here for a moment. You've been here before. You've been stretching your hamstrings. It might be easier to keep your knees straight this time around. And then inhale, let's roll forward to engage our core in our plank posture, taking mind to keep one straight line, not allowing your tush to get on display, nor to allow your belly to reach the ground, but rather keeping that one straight position. We'll hold here for one more breath. Check in with those elbows, make sure they're not locked out. And then release your knees down, release your toes. Inhale, cow spine. We've been here before. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Last one. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Tuck your toes for that stretch in the toes. And then inhale, coming up and back into downward facing dog. Stay here for your exhale. And then on your next inhale, step your right foot towards your right thumb tip, coming into that low lunge. Ground into the left hand, utilize the block if you need to, and on your inhale, rotate up to the ceiling, again, getting that mobility in your thoracic spine or your upper back for that contralateral push off when you run. Now walk your hands forward, shift onto the front foot, maybe take a hop forward if that's necessary for balance. Draw the right hip back in the socket to activate the right glute. Come into prayer and then use balance and strength. First, stopping in a warrior 3 position, foot flexed. And then on your next exhale, swing your left leg to meet your right leg into Tadasana. Great job. Perform it slow if you want to do a first strengthening program, or perform it quickly, 2 or 3 rounds to activate your body and prepare yourself for your run. Enjoy.